Hello and welcome to this first ever episode of AI and Chill with Self-Built Systems. Call it a high-level conversation if you want, but today we are going to cover a broad spectrum of topics. There is no one thing that we're going to discuss here today. It is simply kind of like shooting out of the hip style with my homie Timon. And basically, I met Tim like a fair few 16 months ago, and we have a very kind of cool story on how we met, and Tim's basically just going to give his perspective on a high level conversation which we're going to have today. A lot of things that are happening around the world now is obviously at a scale perspective, whether it's AI, whether it's social media, whether it's all of these different kind of new social platforms that are just popping up everywhere. We're going to have a broad overview of the things that we deem very important for young entrepreneurs, young people, leaders of the new world. Okay, so you guys know Tim. He doesn't need any introduction. He doesn't need any introduction. He's all over the internet. If you haven't seen his face by now, if you haven't seen his face by now, then you probably don't own a phone. But anyways, so me and Tim, we basically met in a gym. Okay, like we are both highly like growth orientated individuals, and we look after ourselves in the physical perspective. And that's kind of like where we met, right? Like we never knew each other from like no mutual friends. It was kind of just this thing that happened where we our paths cross. And as soon as that happened in the gym, I was thinking about this the other day. How this happened was like Tim was busy doing a set somewhere. He was busy doing a set somewhere. I needed a spotter. And I didn't like, there was no one there who could spot me, and I just called Tim, and obviously that's where we kind of like, we introed and we got talking. But as soon as we met, I knew that there was kind of something different towards the conversation, and I actually want to start there. With your perspective on this, when you meet people, right? And we actually had a conversation about this just before we decided to record this first ever session, is that you've told me that you've met some very kind of high net worth, kind of like high
level people.
Yeah, high level people, like going to specific, like, because obviously I know you go to like a private gym and a lot of private gyms, and I've said this before too.
High performance people is actually the best way to put it.
Yeah, so you've met a lot of these people, right? Now, with me saying that, I've said this before on my Instagram, is that if you want to meet people that roll on kind of like a high performance perspective of things, whether it's business, like all these kind of things, on a social perspective, is that you want to go to these places where they hang, right? Where they are. Because growth oriented people, you'll find them working on themselves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way through the Sunday. There's some sort of something that they do, which is how they work on themselves. So I just want your perspective on how do you view growth? Like, what does that mean to you?
You see, it's funny, because like, and this is actually a complex conversation. I don't think everyone agrees with this. And I said this the other day too, that I am a very big believer in the fact that life is kind of like a reflection. I believe that how you do one thing is an actual reflection on basically how you do everything, So, and that's why guys like Joe Rogan and all of these big, massively successful people say that if you see a guy and he's jacked, right? He looks the part, he has an amazing body, whether it's a guy or girl. If this person looks amazing, it means that this person has the discipline. This person know what it means to work hard in this area in their life. And therefore this person would know and have the capabilities and have a higher probability of succeeding in any other areas of their life, and therefore be more capable to achieve really big things in life. So I think growth doesn't mean to excel and do one thing really well. I think it means it's a lifestyle. It's not like, oh, that's a really good business person, but you know what? He's really sloppy in the gym, and like this person has no order in his life when it comes to this one thing. It's like when you commit to excellence in one part of your life, it tends to be that way everywhere. I don't know if you agree with me, but like if I climb into someone's car, right? And there's like KFC everywhere in the car, and I said this a couple of times, like chips and McDonald's, it's just a mess, and it's everywhere, all over the place. The probability of that guy's home is probably the same. His desktop screen, probably the same. How he does his workouts, probably the same. And so, and I guess that's one of the big reasons why I go to a premium gym, because the people that tend to gym there because they commit to excellence in that part of their life, tend to commit to excellence in all part of their lives, you know. So it's very easy, and obviously it's not always the case. You will always have people, you know, that fall outside of this, outside of the norm. But the norm, right? The norm is when you see a guy who looks really good, you just know this guy has his life in order. Like I said, not all the time, but most of the times. And so I guess it's pretty easy for me to see when I look at a guy, where I speak to a person, is this the kind of person I want to have in my life? Or is it not the kind of person? This person could tell me about last night, what he did last night. And I could, based off of that one silly conversation, have a pretty good perception of whether this person is someone I want to align myself with or not align myself with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. So I see this through the lens of like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So bringing it back to firstly actually how we met is that basically we both like I have a very rigid routine. Tim also has a very rigid routine. You'll see a lot of people, like we've met multiple people throughout the, whether it's the business world or whatever the situation might be, that actually does not have a rigid routine. And that also works, but there's
funny how that happens, right?
It's very interesting. I still think about this a lot because at the end of the day, there are activities that you have to do. Like if you understand, like I go to the gym, what happens when I go to the gym, there is first, second, and third order consequences to that. So if I eat good food, like you said, the person will give you the insight on the conversation that he or she had, meaning that you understand what's going on in their brains and what kind of inputs they have. Meaning, do they study okay, whether they study something at university or not, that doesn't really matter, but what do they input, right? What are the things that they input? What do they watch on social media? What's going on in their brains, right? Like that's basically where that comes from. But then being able to say, if someone is telling you, hey, I did this last night, it usually comes through what's going on in a person's brain and the inputs out. And that brings it back down to the disciplinary aspect of things, right? Because at the end of the day, just to make my point on the first thing, guys, we would have never met if we weren't connected to the physical discipline side of things, right? So the physical discipline side of things is one area of your life, right? It's like, but that one thing, it's where I learned from my perspective where that rolls over into everything else that you do. Because if you understand how important that is, and you've heard this saying that health is wealth, because without health, you cannot have wealth. Because if you lose health, you lose wealth. And that's kind of like where that perspective comes in. And I do agree with you when you say that, you know, it's important for us to understand that it's not just one area, because I don't believe in balance. I don't know what your perspective is on that. Because balance for me is kind of like a fallacy, because it's like when you are pushing to be part of the 1%, or with that, if you aspire to do that, there are things that you're going to have to sacrifice in the short term, which is just the truth, which will enable you to move closer to the thing that it is that you want to become. So all those actions, the gym-related actions, you learn the discipline there. You learn that, okay, these are the things that if I do them consistently over a long period of time, because you don't just, then you have the perfect body, right? Everyone probably asks you this all the time, man, how do you look like this? How do you get guns like that, bro? What protein do you use, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Secret
Yeah,
sauce.
what kind of thing do you use? And that's kind of like where the secret sauce comes in. I believe the secret sauce is consistency, okay? On the fact when you blend it with discipline. But I don't know what your perspective is on discipline. Can you give us your take on discipline?
Yeah, sure. So I think, and this comes back to your point on balance. This is a really interesting one because society tells you that you should have balance. And to some extent, I do agree. But here's the thing society doesn't tell you. If you want to be part of the top 1%, I'm in the real top 1%. You want to be in the top 100, you know, like biggest influencers, best businessmen, whatever respective area it is, whatever your craft is. If you want to be the top of the top, there is no balance. I don't care who tells you what, there is no balance. If you look at Elon Musk, that guy does not have balance in his life. Is that unhealthy? I don't know. It's not my place to really say that. I don't think it's something everyone should commit to. I don't think it is for everyone. I think, however, when the purpose is bigger than yourself, when you're working towards some, you know, greater thing. For example, Elon Musk has all the money in the world. That's no reason that guy still needs to work. I mean, he has billions and billions. Why does he still work? Why does he still work 16 to 18 hours days every single day when he has all the money in the world? And the purpose is he wants to create a better world for society. his goal is so much bigger than having money. He wants to change the world. He wants to take people to Mars. Is it Mars?
Yeah.
It is Mars, right?
Yeah.
He wants to take people to Mars. And so that's a pretty big goal he has. And so when you have a goal like that, there's no way you can have balance. There's no way you can do it. And even when I look at myself, at what I do, you know, when social media was still a hobby for me, I had some balance, sure, but I was a mediocre influencer. You know, I had a couple of 100,000 followers, nothing major. But as soon as I cut out the balance and I started obsessing over this thing and becoming, you know, the best of the best, the balance falls out. But here's the big thing. I enjoy what I do. And so for me, from my perspective, it kind of feels like I live a balanced lifestyle because it's not torture, right? Like it's not torture the whole day. So it kind of does feels like I have balance because I enjoy doing content. I enjoy filming myself. I enjoy putting together scripts. I enjoy being in front of the camera. I enjoy editing and the post-production. And so, yeah, I don't have the most balanced lifestyle, but I do have an enjoyable lifestyle. You know, I think the problem comes in when you chase the wrong thing, when the goal is the wrong thing and you hate what you're doing and you don't have balance. And I think that's going to kill you at the end of the day. You know, if Elon Musk didn't have this big goal, he was just working all the time towards what? Like why? You would get depressed or like it just wouldn't work out for you. And I think discipline would be way more difficult for you to apply every day. But my biggest thing on that would just be the best way to stay disciplined is obviously to make the process as enjoyable as you can and try to include things that you enjoy into the process. And it doesn't have to be directly related to the thing you're doing. I'll give you a practical example in my shoes. So I do social media for a living, so I make content, right? And I'm not a fitness influencer in the sense of I make videos, this is what you need to eat, this is what you need to try. I'm not a fitness coach.
Like a grow your chest guy.
Yeah. I'm not a fitness coach, but I do love gym. So what did I do? I included that into my structure by filming myself in the gym. So now I've included a very important part of my life that I love doing, and I've included it into my work area.
It's automatic leverage.
100%. Another thing I really love doing, and this is a personal thing, doesn't matter where I stay, I love hotels. I love experiencing new hotels, staying in different places. So what I would do is over a weekend, I would book myself in a hotel, and then I would just work from the hotel. Even if I don't do anything, I would just be in this new hotel, edit my work. I just get this new vibe of inspiration. Again, including hotels into what I like to do for a living. And all of these different things help you stay disciplined. You know, people think like when you're disciplined, you need to suffer all the time. It needs to be like this horrible experience, like you're just like writing the whole day, but make it enjoyable for yourself. Include things you love to do. And that's why I include gym content. Not because I make gym content like train this, do this, eat this. I don't do that, but I love to gym. And so that's why I make gym content. I love to stay in hotels, and that's why I include that into my work schedule. I don't know, does that make sense? Do you think you should include things that you enjoy? Do you think you should just be disciplined and like screw happiness?
So for me, it's like this. I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna come to the question now. So first, I'm gonna touch on you like going to different locations, right? So meaning it doesn't matter if it's a hotel or a really cool Airbnb. It's like I've read this study actually, and I'll try to find it if you guys want to see the study, but it was based on creative thought, right? So if you're in a creative flow process or a creative like process where you're actually building or creating, is like your mind opens up to new sources of creativity if you place yourself in an open environment, either like a new environment or an open environment with like, I believe it had something to do with the ceiling and how like it like, you know, it's basically open. So if you go and you place yourself in these environments where it's like different kind of parts of your brain light up and fire up, okay, we'll try to keep it as plain English as possible, but that's what happens. Long story short, when you go place yourself in a new environment, that's why I believe, I'm gonna come back to your question now, why environment is so important, is like when you can engineer your environment for the consistency, for knowing that, okay, hey, I know all these things are around me. For example, food, you know, all the basic things. It's really like you don't have to think about them. You just know they are there. Things are for example, I know we always have a conversation about this when it comes to like food and prepping and doing all this stuff. But it comes down to being able to a little bit like automate that process, right? Yeah. Where you don't have to spend too much time. Where it comes into the fact of like you having to cook all the time, or you having to think about what you need to eat.
100%.
Because if you want to keep it consistent and you want to keep it disciplined, it's like, man, like my diet diet is probably one of the most boring diets ever. And Tim
Me
always,
too.
like, he
My
gives
diet
me,
is super boring, like for real.
he gives me flack on how little I eat. But anyways, like that works for me, right? So I just eat a fruit, for an example. So I just like, I eat a protein in the morning with some carbs, okay? And then I eat a fruit in the afternoon with a protein. And then later in the afternoon, I have a bigger meal, right? That's how I do it. However, Tim obviously has different ways of how he does things. But in his perspective, it would be torture, right? If I like so different things work for different people, but you want to keep it consistent. You want to keep it easy. You want to design that part, right? So again, coming back, kind of lost my train of thought towards the question.
So the question basically was discipline, right? People, because this is something I get so many times on Instagram, and I think people ask me this question because I post so much content, and so that kind of just reflects that I am kind of disciplined in my craft. So people always ask me, how do you stay so disciplined? But then I think I'm able to stay disciplined relatively easily because I kind of like the thing I'm doing, you know, so I can stay disciplined easily.
So you play all the time.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it's play. Like it's
100%.
not work, it's play, and the more you can play, the better you get.
100%.
Yeah.
So my question to you was like, most people view the word discipline as torture, right? So most people have this perception like you need a disciplined diet. Okay, I need to eat like chicken breasts and egg whites. That's it, 5 meals a day. That is discipline. And I am like, it doesn't have to be torture. Include things you like in the process to make yourself just last longer and stay disciplined way easily. So my thing to you was, do you think discipline is just straight up a thing where you need to commit to and do it regardless of how hard it is? Or do you think it's important that a level of happiness is also a role? Or do you just push your emotions aside and you just man that up and then you just go in regardless of how unhappy it makes you?
Yeah, so to me, I see discipline through this lens. I see it through two different kinds. So discipline is, long story short, to me, it's the keys. Okay, like number one, discipline is the keys that unlocks different areas and different aspects of your life. I'll break it down like this. So the happiness aspect, discipline to me is not equals happiness, but discipline to me is what unlocks the other areas in your life. So for example, if you're the disciplinary factor works like this. Once you're disciplined, it connects to consistency, and once you're consistent, it connects to creativity, because the consistency breeds creativity, but the happiness aspect comes in your actively doing of the process, right? So whatever that process might be to you, so the work that you're involved with. Now, I don't see my work that I do every single day as work too. So it's that playing aspect again. To me, I'm playing every day. So if I play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and some people also ask me sometimes like, how do you work all the time? Or how do you work on the weekend? I mean, like you're supposed to be doing fun stuff, right? And to me, that is fun. Like I actually enjoy.
Tell the people what day we're recording this quickly, by the way. What day and time is this now?
This is a Sunday, and it's close to 8 o'clock at night. And that's the whole point, right? This is a creative outlet for me and Tim. Tim, obviously, a lot of the stuff more for Tim, like that's his, that's his thing. That's obviously the social media line of things, but it's also a source of a creative outlet. Now, I speak to like business owners from all over the world every single week, and I hear this same thing. I had a call yesterday with someone from New York, actually, and this whole topic came about that this guy is pretty successful, okay? He's pretty successful in what he does. Now, the whole point was there is that in his everyday, day-to-day life, the job that he was working, the part that he was trying to solve is that sort of like creative outlet where he's doing his job. He was happy doing the job in the beginning, but now it became some sort of like a mundane process, right? It's like, yes, I'm doing this, money is coming through, but it became mundane, and he was looking for that one thing, that deep desire that was inside of his heart, which he knew he just needed to figure out how to share that message with people, because he has all these things that's, like I said, like deeply in his heart, wanting that to share with more people. And that was the whole thing we talked about yesterday with this specific person, because like money is not his problem. Like it's being able to understand the message that he has embedded in him and how he can translate that into the world. Because I truly believe, this is my belief around this, is that everyone, does not matter what you do, there is some sort of a calling or something placed on you, a calling connected to a message. Because how do we we're as human beings, we have linguistic kind of like communication with each other, right? Like there are different ways of doing it, through video, through written word, through all this stuff. but it's how we go out, it's how we carry a message, it's how we are able to communicate with each other. Because look, at the end of the day, it's like when we connect that to business, like you need to be able to talk to people, right?
Of course.
Because if you don't talk to people about your thing, or you don't put your thing out there, then that's kind of like no one will know about your thing, right? And no one will know about your message. So that's where the discipline comes in, right? Now there are things that are not unhealthy, but there are things that are not nice to do, which is the things that you have to man through and whatever, put your emotions aside. I believe that. Like you have to with some certain activities, which is not deemed to be like everything you do in your process is not going to be 100% fun. I don't know if you agree with that. Like,
as my thing is like, as long as it's fun within the macro, there are always going to be elements within the micro, something that everyone understands here. Within the macro, gym is fun. Within the micro, legs is not that fun, you know? But like you have to do it, you have to push through it. It's the same with social media. Social media is fun. Within social media, there are little elements that I don't like to do. I don't like to scroll on the internet, but I need to do it to get creative new ideas from other people on the internet. That's what the internet's all about. And so that part I do not enjoy, but in the macro, I still love what I do. You know?
In the sense of like that process which you explained there, the idea generation part. I mean, Tim has his processes, obviously, how he does his things, but it's looking at it through like we are all in some form of a way a creator, like some sort of a creator, right? That's why I believe in what Tim is doing, right? Obviously, in the whole creator economy and all of that stuff, why that's so important. And to me, like, I love supporting, kind of things that we are aligned with, right? Meaning that, okay, the whole creative process, which you just unpacked, is so important because multiple areas of that process, again, is important, but maybe you don't like, if you're needing to put out content or something, maybe you don't like editing, or maybe you don't like that process too much. But there are ways, right, to go about doing that process. But then it's also the more you do it, the better you'll get. And obviously there are different leverage points connected around that and how you push more of the things out, how you do, all those little kind of like things that, just evolve around that. So that's kind of my perspective. So discipline obviously is the keys in order to unlock all these other things. And that is, again, connected to consistency, and consistency rolls over to creativity. And that's really, where your brain is like, fully engaged. Because if you're fully engaged every single day, like, I believe that's kind of like happiness or rather success to me. I would love to hear what your perspective is on this. And I'm going to quote Earl Nightingale on this, is basically the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So success in itself, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I don't know what your kind of view is
on success.
Yeah, well, how do you view it? Like,
this is again one of those things where everyone has their own opinion on it, right? Like success means as different definitions based on who you talk to, and I've only ever found one creator that I align with when it comes to my definition of success. And in my eyes, success is happiness, and that is something Gary Vee always says. Gary Vee, and again, this is not for everyone. For me, success is happiness, because I promise you guys, I've made 2,000 Rand a month, 2,000 Rand a month, and I've also made 500,000 Rand a month. The level of happiness does not depend on the money I make. Like I've made money, 500,000 Rand, where I'm unhappy. I hated my life, miserable. Then there were days where I made 2,000 Rand a month where I was stoked and I was loving life and I was happy with my friends and my loved ones. And so like, I don't know, for me as a person who's been like pretty much at all levels, obviously I haven't been like 8 figures crazy, but I've achieved some pretty cool things. And throughout my journey, I don't know, man, like success for me is just waking up on a Monday morning when the week starts with a smile on your face and ready to tackle the week. If you do that, if you wake up with a smile every day of the week, then I believe you've won. And I think that's why success would be different for everyone. Because if you're a teacher and you earn, sorry, I spoke in rands. I know a lot of people are in the US. If you're a teacher and you earn $1,000 a month, and you wake up happy, you've won. Like, why would you want to start a business? Why would you want to take on all these other things? I think it comes down to your level of happiness. So if you're unhappy, then you need to start looking into other points. I've never, ever had a business coaching client come to me saying they love their life. It's the best life in the whole world, but they want to quit their job and start an online business. I've never had that. it's always the people
Yeah.
that are unhappy in the situations, that don't like where they are, what they have, or they desire more. The current occupation or whatever cannot give that to them, and therefore they want to start an online business, which tells me that they are not happy in the current situation. And so that's pretty much it for me. Happiness is success. What are your thoughts?
So the success, like I said, with the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, for me, happiness, I see happiness as you truthfully being connected to what you're doing. Like I said, like whatever that thing is that you're doing, okay? If you can wake up and look forward to those activities, whatever they might be, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a lawyer, like whatever that looks like to you, is if you can be fully engaged in your process, again, whatever that looks like, could be different on many different kind of like obviously aspects of things, but that to me is like you get closer to what is called happiness when you can actually be fully engaged with what you do, basically fully engaged, because again it's like you're going to play all the time, and when you look at children when they play, you see them smile, you see them happy, you see them like you know trying to get to little mischief kind of things as well, because like it's learning, it's like it's playing, it's like this and that. So to me, that's kind of where it comes down to. But then I wanna just mention this thing here is that, like, I see it like this. Business, I had to go through my whole journey and stuff that I experienced through the trading world. A lot of you guys know that obviously I'm still involved there, just not as heavily involved as I used to be. Most of my attention, or 95% of my attention, is with what I do on the business side of things right now. However, I learned a lot there. But my point there is that if I did not go through all of these things, if I did not, for example, I don't know what would have happened if I didn't meet Tim. Different things would have also happened throughout the process of, like, obviously all of that. But the point here is that you meet certain people, you experience certain things, and based on your decision making, that's how you move forward, right? The better our decision making, the better the overall outcome of our lives could be, dependable on our decisions. So my point there is that happiness is just connected to like what you do every single day, because I don't think you reach a state of nirvana or whatever whatever you want to call that through just going to your job or listening to having a mundane kind of like process, because at the end of the day, we all are, like I said, we all have some sort of creational energy inside of us, and it's about how we express ourselves through the work that we do and through service to other people, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we agree basically. We
agree
a lot.
Yeah. So I have this one question, obviously based on this whole topic, and I obviously said in the beginning of this I will still figure out what I'm going to call this, whether it's some sort of like a high level conversation or just some sort of an AI and chill chat. But the point here is that the reason why I decided to do this first video with Tim is because Tim is just a prime example of what consistency looks like when that discipline is connected. Like I explained that little process, but what that looks like over a consistent period of time. It's not boom, perfect body. It's not boom, like millions of like followers on Instagram. The same thing with business, right? Not kind of like, obviously most of the clients that I work with on that perspective, they already have businesses, but like that whole thing, all of that, it like that connects, right? It's that consistent thing like rolling through everything that we do. And we're gonna talk. I'm gonna ask Tim his perspective on AI, and I would want to love to hear what Tim has to say about that. But you kind of agree with like the whole intertwining of the things?
100%, dude. 100%. I mean, yeah, that last point you said is just so important. I think the biggest takeaway everyone can have in this whole video, the biggest takeaway in this whole video is that consistency is genuinely the key to success / happiness, or achieving a 1% life, or achieving anything bigger than yourself. Like, there's nothing that outworks consistency. Like, even if you put out low volume of whatever it is every day, over an extended period of time, you're going to annihilate someone that puts out an extreme amount of volume over a short period of time, any day of the week. Like, these creators
kind of like, to add to your knowledge there, it's like basically like the guy who can go and I'm the same thing with business lens, the guy that can go 70% for as long as possible, than the guy that goes 120% and then stops.
100%, dude. There's actually a children's book my mom always used to read to me when I was small. I can't remember the book's name, but it was basically the story about this race that these animals had. And then one animal was a skulpot. What's skulpot in English, dude?
Tortoise.
A tortoise.
Yeah.
And the other one, have you heard the story?
I think I'm
I was
following.
young. I was very young.
I'm following.
So
Tortoise, the
tortoise,
hare,
yeah. There was a bunch of different animals, but
Yeah.
the one was a tortoise, which is the slowest, and the
then
one
the hare.
was it?
A hare.
I think so,
Yeah.
and a rabbit, and all of these different animals.
Yeah.
I can't remember the specific animal, but the one was fast and the one was slow, and the one which was slow just like kept moving, like super slow, but consistently. And the other one just like ran and then rested, ran and then took like naps in between.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the tortoise won this animal, which was just insane.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a silly
It's the exact
story.
same
I'm just
yeah.
Remember?
Tortoise, the hare, and like some other stuff happened in between.
Yeah. So it is the same thing, you know. It is the same thing. Consistency wins at the end of the day. It took me.
Yeah.
People look at my following. I built a combined following of like 2.5 million followers across Instagram and TikTok in 12 months, and people are like, "Wow, that's so awesome!" But what people don't know is, for the first 6 months, I never even crossed like 30,000 followers. But then in the next 6 months, I went from 30,000 to 2.5 million. So if you spoke to me after 6 months and I told you I built a combined audience of 30,000 followers in 6 months, you would have been, well, that's not great.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing to brag about.
Yeah.
But speak to me 6 months later, I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I built
But
a
it's-
2.5 million followers.
It's the compounding effect too of your efforts.
Always joins the effect.
It's your compounding effects, number one, and then also the kind of game that you chose to play.
Yeah.
Because like I have this one saying that I love: play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the kind of games that we pick to play as humans, we all are always involved in some sort of a game. I see business as a game. Number one, I don't see life as a game. Like I said, like I don't know what your thoughts are based on this topic, is because like I know I'm heavily involved with this and with the companies and things that we work with, but I would love to hear your perspective on this as an outsider, kind of like on the perspective of AI. How do you view AI, just on your perspective?
This is interesting, you know, this is really interesting because I can honestly say in front of the camera too, I have zero interest in AI, but I think that's kind of irrelevant whether you have interest in it or not. It's like in South Africa with load shedding, you know, when the power goes off for certain times of the day. I'm pretty sure not a lot of people have interest in that too, but whether you're interested or not, it affects everyone. And so I think it would be ignorant to ignore it or not educate yourself on it, you know, when it comes to the basics. So again, I'm definitely not an expert in that. It's not something that I would read in my free time or educate myself on. If it was something to do with politics or social media, sure, I would go into that, but this just isn't one of those fields. But yeah, the perspective of someone like me, which is an outsider, I do think it's going to revolutionize the world. And I mean, it's happening in real time right now. Like, I will be honest, when it comes to social media and my specific duties I do on the daily, AI has not yet infiltrated social media with regards to daily processes and systems that I take. I'm pretty sure there are some creators that involve AI into the systems. I am not there yet, but I do think it would be ignorant to think, when you look at all the other industries that it has affected already, to think that AI will never change the social media industry for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think AI is going to cut out certain elements to the process. How fast that will happen or exactly how that will happen, I am not sure. But in the greater scheme of things, whether it's a good thing, whether it's bad, I don't know. I think I should give it over to you. Tell us, what are your, you know, perspectives on AI? Should we fear it? Should we embrace it?
Yeah.
What is the big thing there? Because I think a lot of people, you know, especially people like my parents and stuff, they have even less knowledge about it. Like if I have a 5% knowledge, they have like 0.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of these people are scared of AI because they don't know what it is, right? And I think fear is automatic once you don't have any knowledge about anything. Then it's just, fear is the go-to thing to go to. But I think once you've educated yourself on it and you understand it, your perspective's a little different. So I'll give over to you.
Yeah, so we'll wrap this up here and I'll give you this perspective like this. So the reason why I'm so focused on AI and why I'm so focused on all these things around, whether it's a business growing aspect or whether it's something that can help a business, that's irrelevant right now. I didn't see it through that lens. How I saw it was like this. Firstly, I had to understand, number one, what intelligence is. Like, what does that mean? Like, like intelligence, if you ask any really smart person that you know what is the kind of like definition of intelligence, they'll kind of tell you something in this line where it's like it's your ability, it's information processing. So the faster you can process information and put it to work, so you take that, you read that book, you acquire that knowledge acquisition, and you put it to work, and then you can iterate on that speed of it. You can get better with what you do. You can build. So, and then through an AI lens perspective, we have to look at the word artificial intelligence. Like, so it's artificial intelligence, right? So basically, now when they come together, it's like having an extra brain or an extra helper that allows you to just process, like obviously work, build faster. It already is smarter than most humans, and it can build faster, it can learn faster, and it's operating at such a pace where everyone in the future will have some sort of an AI co-pilot. Whether you're a lawyer, whatever that might look like in an education space or field, because both of my parents are also teachers, and I've had to talk to them about this stuff. Talk to their headmaster and share this stuff with them, right? Because right now, a lot of people's awareness levels when it comes to an introduction of a new technology like cryptocurrency or any stuff like this is that the people who really understand the tech will be nailed to it, and they will be working as hard as they can because they understand the leverage effects that can have not only on the world but on society itself. And how that there will be people, that the danger aspect of this is that there will be people who will basically have bad intentions or not good intentions, and they will try to manipulate people through using the advanced technology.
Like crypto and everything.
Yeah. So like exactly. Like, so there's the early adopters. Like we have the little curve cycle. I'll try to put it in here on the edit somewhere, but you have the early adopters, you have the, you know, the people, you have the peak, obviously what that looks like with people. You've seen this now with ChatGPT, even with threads. It's not new technology, but threads also went like, whoop, boom. But anyway, like AI in a general perspective, like it's smarter than humans. It learns faster, it can code itself, like it can self-improve, and it's now reached that level where like it's just gonna be like an ever-evolving like speed curve where everything that we do on a day-to-day is changing really, really fast, okay? So the way that we like kind of like, you know, process information is changing, like the way that we go about, and even like processes with like content creation. There are some creators on, like I've studied this one guy's stuff. Obviously, they all do stuff involved with ChatGPT, and they learn better ways on how to use ChatGPT to create a piece of content, etc., and do that. However, what my firm belief is around this, as I've said, and we'll wrap this up here, is that is AI dangerous? In my opinion, yes, because there are humans behind it that still program the machines. Like there are humans behind it that not, like I said, not have good intentions, but it's also very, very like it has the lens of being good as well, because there are a lot of things that will improve and get faster and do a lot of like there's just a broad perspective. This conversation, I will keep talking about this forever, but again, to wrap this up in perspective is like if you are like you just need to align. If you are the best like pizza maker, social media guy, if you are the best like business dude or whatever it is that you do, okay, lawyer, is that you need to learn how to align with the technology, and that specifically comes through learning about the technology and how to utilize it in your process, because the people who learn how to utilize the tech, how to align with the tech, are the people that are going to have the most throughput in their own processes, because you're going to be able to move faster. And the guy that moves faster, you're going to be able to make better decisions. For example, on a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, all of these will be heavily impacted, and also systems integrated within that whole process will be driven through AI, okay? And that's just what is happening. So again, if the people who are watching this, like I will just, from my side, is just learn. What we can do right now is learn and implement, find the right sources of information and learn how you can adjust and use AI in your processes. I mean, that is basically it on that perspective. I mean, because the people who are going to be the business owners or the people who will dominate 6 months from now, 3 months from now, 5 years from now. That is just the reality of the technology and how powerful it is. But Tim, I want to say thank you for coming on this, joining me on this chat today and us launching this first initial kind of like episode with this. Again, I don't know what we're going to call this yet. I just labeled it AI and Chill.
Catchy, dude.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
catchy.
AI and Chill is AI and Chill. I mean, it's just high level chats on things that we deem very important. And as you guys know, like I said, Tim works hard, you know, on multiple perspectives of his own life, and I would love to have more conversations with people like Tim, and obviously in different areas. And I've already lined up a few other people that we're going to be talking with, really, really interesting people and hardworking people. So if there is anyone that you guys would want me to specifically go out, reach out to them, tell them about this, and I will also go out of my way to set up these and to bring you guys the content that actually matters, that can help you guys in your process with everything that you're doing, with the hopes of you taking this, applying that into your life, and basically being able to make a difference in someone else's life. That's why we do this. So thank you for coming, bro.
Thanks, my dude. I enjoyed it. My brother, it's been awesome. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. And yeah, it's been good, man. It's really appreciated this.
Fantastic. So if you guys did, please go ahead, smash the like button if you liked it, if you find value, hit the sub, and then we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.
Cheers.